Entrepreneurship is the emergent process of recognizing and communicating creativity such that the resulting economic value can be appropriated by those involved. Entrepreneurs display particular behaviors, skills, and attributes. McKellen's trait approach proposes that we need to look into the personality traits that makes a person an entrepreneur. Personality traits can be defined as stable tendencies of behavior across situations and across time. Figure 1 summarizes the character traits of an entrepreneur according to Burns's research on relevant academics. Although Figure 1 shows several traits of an entrepreneur, opportunistic and innovative are the two prime distinguishing features of entrepreneurs. For example, entrepreneurs often see opportunities where others see problems, and innovation is the prime tool they use to create or exploit opportunity. Due to the fact that the results of the trait approach has generated the displacement of researchers to other personal aspects of the individual, the cognitive approach was introduced to help explain entrepreneurial behavior in relation to certain types of cognitions. The cognitive approach uses the cognitive aspects of entrepreneurs to study and even to explain their behavior, which is related to the identification of opportunities for the creation of businesses and business growth.
Businesses fail, but entrepreneurs do not. Failure is the fire that tempers the entrepreneur's steel and street savvy. An entrepreneur and a business venture are separate, meaning that the entrepreneur can learn and become motivated by failure. Primarily, an appropriate definition of entrepreneurial failure would be a deviation from expected and desired result, as conceptualized by Cannon and Edmondson, which can be the result of internal or external causes, or both. Such failure, nonetheless, can create crucial learning opportunities and play an important part in product innovation. The ability to recover from failure and accept it is a learning process that can foster higher-level learning outcomes. Moreover, the main learning outcomes that have been observed to stem from failure include the ability to recognize opportunities, along with an enhanced ability to overcome obstacles. By identifying errors and causes of failure, it facilitates potential improvements in future performance. Finally, failing urges entrepreneurs to appraise and consider what went wrong, thus enhancing cognitive processing by recognizing aspects that were previously ignored. Nonetheless, failure does not always lead to learning. Primarily, it has been theorized that failures should be intelligent, as in, they should be relatively small and non-destructive in order to be able to recover from them and be able to begin the learning process. Additionally, the psychological effects of experiencing failure, such as shame and grief, can create barriers in the learning process. Social and cultural norms on failure are arguably negative, which can lead to stigmas. Such stigmas can become barriers to the learning process, as entrepreneurs may be reluctant to admit to their failure, and hence to be able to grow from it. Paradoxically, failure tends to reduce the negative feelings associated with failure, and to be more open to it, thus further facilitating the learning process.
An example in order to understand how failure can act as a fundamental learning experience and have a profound impact on subsequent business performance is that of Conrad Hilton. Before starting his hotel dynasty, Hilton was helping his father as an assistant in his corner shop until he had enough money to start up the first bank in his hometown. However, although he believed that the locals would entrust their funds to his bank, customers failed to materialize, forcing him to close down after a year. Drawing on the theory of experiential learning by Kolb, it can be argued that the failure experience that Hilton overwent with his banking involvement provided him with an opportunity to learn to move forward and subsequently exploit his new entrepreneurial opportunity within the hospitality industry. Additionally, the experience of closing down his bank could have been seen as a stimulus for having a positive attitude towards failure by rendering his existing routines and behaviors inadequate, which in turn could have prompted a change in his values. Furthermore, his failure potentially forced him to reevaluate what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur and his recognition for a new business opportunity by increasing his variability for a new venture. Additionally, it can be argued that the fear of failing again could have acted as an incentive for him to develop strategic thinking and formulate a risk assessment to limit the possibility of another business failure. Although this is not always the case, as avoiding the possibility to make mistakes could decrease the likelihood to exploit new opportunities and growth. Yet, even after opening his first 9 hotels, an economic downturn made him file for bankruptcy, thus making him shut down 8 of the hotels. However, due to his previous failure, Hilton was provided with an increased knowledge of the failures as well as the success factors that helped him recover in his previous ventures, which led him to gain them all back soon after. Hilton's new experiential learning to regain his hotels was potentially improved by his cognitive ability to be aware of new business opportunities as well as his analytical understanding of the external market conditions existing at the time caused by the economic downturn, and the way in which he can materialize the existing resources that he has to regrow. Also, it should be kept in mind that the possibility of his entrepreneurial learning and previous failures could have helped him to persist and remain optimistic in these crucial moments and overcome or possibly build a tolerance to the fear of failure and the emotions associated to it, and in turn motivate him to be resilient. Therefore, his continuous learning and the skills learned from his failures, followed by the propensity to explore for new ways for innovation and growth for his ventures, was a foremost success factor.
In the world of business, staying competitive is vital for companies, and a main focal point for most companies is product development. However, product development takes a lot of dedication and commitment, which in turn will include risks. Risk management is an important element of product design. It helps to minimize the project and product-related risks, such as a product budget and schedule overrun, or missing product cost and quality targets. Entrepreneurs perceive risk differently from society as they ask the question, is this a high or low risk? As opposed to, what if this happens as a result of this? A 4-step solution provides the basis of risk management for entrepreneurs. Firstly, an entrepreneur will want to avoid the risk by eliminating the cause. Secondly, they will want to mitigate the risk by reducing the probability or impact of the risk. Thirdly, an entrepreneur will want to transfer any of the responsibility by having a third party take some of the responsibility on, for example, an insurance cover. And lastly, they will want to accept the risk by creating contingency plans. As long as there is an awareness of the risks and understanding of the importance, then effective measures can be put into place. Risk is not only constantly a present factor in the product design process, but the management and reduction of risks have shown to have a positive impact on the product performance in most sectors. Therefore, entrepreneurs, in terms of their traits, will focus on the positive and initiative aspects of risk management in the product design phase.
Risks in product design can come from having a disruptive transformation of a company or product. Taking the internet as a modern example, the internet has changed the way tourism, hospitality, and event companies function, which has had a negative impact on the companies that are not willing to adapt to it. A well-known example of how the internet has been disruptive within the hospitality industry is the creation of online booking resources that can break down or become very tedious for a customer to work with. However, saying this, the innovation of Airbnb became increasingly popular as Ting 2016 states, Airbnb is now valued at an estimated $25.5 billion and growing every day in terms of its inventory and global reach. Although this is a positive result for Airbnb, the innovation created risks and negative impacts for the traditional methods of booking a holiday, such as through a travel agent. Apps and websites within the hospitality and tourism industry, such as Trivago and Booking.com, all undergo their own updates every so often, which can cause a positive or a negative product performance impact, depending on the customer's views of the innovative changes the entrepreneur behind the scenes may have made. The changes in design and methodology of online sites are approached with content analysis and questionnaires to further avoid the risks from the innovations.
There is always a risk when making changes to booking sites and apps, as they are highly popular and customers are not always fond of changes and having to learn how to use the newest version of an app. This can create a downfall in the performance of the company and the customer engagement. As Hollingworth 2015 explains, online platforms can quickly decline in popularity.
To conclude, opportunism and innovation are the two prime traits of an entrepreneur. The personal traits of an entrepreneur are exemplified in how they display particular behaviours, skills, and attributes towards operational processes. An entrepreneur will view failure as a learning process from which they can create opportunity in the future. Furthermore, an entrepreneur displays willingness to accept higher levels of risk during the product design phase, allowing for managerial risk mitigation. By understanding the traits of an entrepreneur, it is possible to understand the concept of entrepreneurship, namely that entrepreneurship involves 1. Uncertainty and risk, 2. Complementary managerial competence, and 3. Creative opportunism.